Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are around the world. Welcome to France for round 4 of the Trans-Nation Formula 1 World Championship. I'm joined by Omar, Roman and Cameron Betts in qualifying. And last weekend we saw quite an interesting race come about. Daniel Vale for the Scuderia taking his first win of the season after banking his second straight pole position. Today we actually paid congratulations for Nadir Ziat, who makes his home Grand Prix event appearance for this weekend, the only French driver in our community. So hope for the best for your home Grand Prix, Nadir, and hopefully you get up the grid and show the fans some service. Now we're just watching Adi Bettenbauer come out of pit lane, and boys, who do you think is going to take pole position? Pole position today?
That's pretty hard one to say.
Well, I mean, you can't deny that Daniel Vale is the man to beat in qualifying. But what do you think, Omar? Do you disagree? Agree?
I have to see once they complete the first 2 laps, so I can get a pretty good idea of how they're gonna perform. Because right now, I might be completely surprised.
Okay, and Cameron, your thoughts? No Cameron. Okay, so he must be trying to sort something out. So we'll press on irrespective. So we've got a few drivers who are making their actual appearance this weekend. Most notably, the one with the biggest leaders on the leaderboard, Rabbit Donkey 96, Guy Tasker, finally makes his appearance back after 3 weeks off on holiday, and of course work commitments making it a bit tricky for him to do it. And Ash is on fire, someone you might have, well, actually you wouldn't have seen him, but he was part of the F3 group originally. He's now in the F1 category in place of Alex Sheik, who unfortunately didn't make the start of the Trans-Nation Formula 1 Championship thing. So we're just going to find out who's about to start their flying lap first, and I think it might actually have been Adi Bettenbauer, but I'm sure there was a car in front. In fact, there was, and it was Axel Ericsson, who missed the race last weekend at Bahrain, but is back to try and rectify and get some points back. So we have both Red Bulls, both Toro Rossos, both Force Indias, both McLarens, both Ferraris, but only one Mercedes and both Williams. So for those wondering where our championship leader Alex Little is, he is unfortunately at the Pukekohe race circuit in New Zealand, Auckland, watching the ITM 400. So unfortunately these circumstances have seen fit that Alex will miss a race, and this will definitely hurt his championship charge, unless of course that the other two contenders in the championship at the moment, that being Mackenzie Stewart and Bradley Betts, both have a bad race. So Cameron, are you with us? Nope, still having issues with Cameron.
Right.
So as far as I'm aware, Cameron's having a few technical issues. Hopefully he'll rectify that and get back to us soon. So just watching Axel Ericsson now take the last turn to put down a benchmark time. It's going to be pretty reasonable. It's going to be a 1 minute 30.3, so that's pretty good. That's pretty close to where we would have expected to see. And Adi Bettenbauer not too far behind on a 30.7. We'll just see who's next on the list. It's going to be actually a Force India, but we'll just watch Mason Ward here. So the Force India that goes through is Ashley Reynolds. And Mason goes into third with a 31 thing. Daniel Vale, expected, a 29.8. So Daniel first into the... Oh, hang on. Cameron, have we got you back?
Nope.
Okay, maybe not. So Daniel Vale to the top with a 1 minute 29.8. And he's now got 0.3 of a second over Sjoerd van der Brug, who has put in a 1 minute 30.1 to be the best of the rest. Matthias Ficelli has put in a time. Cameron Betts with a 30.0, so just losing out by 0.2 of a second over the teammate Jules Vanderbrug has crossed the line. Now, John Lindbergh, I thought, would have been higher up than that, but P6 actually. There goes Stuart McKenzie, or Mackenzie Stewart, into P4 with a 1 minute 30.2. We know he can do better. So the guys that we thought would be a bit higher up are actually not doing as expected, but we'll just wait to see if some more people come through. So the next person to complete a lap should be Guy Tasker. In fact, here he comes across the line, and he goes 9th fastest with a 31.5. So that's still not too bad for a guy that's had probably the least amount of practice out of everyone in the category. But either way, we're just going to keep going on with this irrespective, and we'll just see if Cameron keeps jumping in and out of the Discord to try and get into the thing. His mic's obviously having a bit of a malfunction, so hopefully he'll get that sorted out. We can get that sorted out in between qualifying and the race. So current order at the moment is Daniel Vale from Bradley Betts, then it's George Vanderbrug from Mackenzie Stewart, Axel Eriksson, Addy Beddenbell, John Lindbergh, Matthias Vigelli, Guy Tasker, Mason Ward makes up your 10. Then it's Melvin Stolbaka, Nadir Ziat, March Trisandi, and Ashley Reynolds. Currently the last driver on the board to set a time. Now we're just waiting for Joshua Lawton out. I see rain.
Yep.
There is rain on the circuit, so it looks like everyone has come in. The question now lies in, is it going to rain enough to be a problem? Because if it does, then, well, as Joshua Law now does a time of 1 minute 33.3 to be in 14th. So if this rain gets any heavier, then it's pretty well certain that Daniel Vale is going to take his 3rd consecutive pole position of the season and his 5th of his career. So
it's going to be pretty hard to set up a car if it's going to be dry on race day, but pouring right now. It's going to be almost impossible.
Well, given that we don't know what the weather is like, it's quite hard to dictate what the race is going to be like. We know now that it's raining, and pretty much everyone now, there's only one driver that's coming back out, and that's George Vanderbrug, and he's going out on the super soft. So he must be thinking that he can at least try and punch out of time faster than his 30.1 on the supers, so that if it is dry for the race, he will start on the better compound. But there's a huge but on this. If the qualifying is considered wet, and that will be shown when the DRS board disappears, then everyone's going to have a free choice of tyres in qualifying. So, at the race. So it's pretty much, people are going to want it to rain, because then they don't have to. Yeah, they don't have to use the tyres that they qualified on. They'll have a free selection of fresh tyres. So it's touch and go. So personally, I wouldn't be going out for another lap, and I think Daniel Vale understands this probably better than anyone.
Oh yeah.
And you can just see as George Vanderbrug just goes immensely wide coming out of the fast right-hander. Just can't get the grip that he needs to get the thing, and there is starting just slightly to become a little bit of a spray behind the car. So we'll see. We'll watch him on board and see how he does. So we'll do a virtual onboard lap here on board George Vanderbrug and see how we go. So he comes around the last corner. Very tricky to try and get the traction down, which is blatantly obvious with the weather as it is. So punching through the gears, DRS activated down the main straight, 8th gear, and now heading into the first corner. You want to be so precise here. He goes into 4th. Now we saw a lot of F3 drivers yesterday taking this corner in 5th. Now I think he would have just invalidated his lap on that. In fact he has, because he's just started to back off. So anyway, we'll press on. So going through 3 and 4, it's such a hard corner to get right, because if you get it wrong in one area, actually as they say that, he does go off wide to let one of the drivers through, Matthias Vicelli. So good job there to get out of the way of the flying lap. But just going through the fast right-hander, left-hander that takes you down the back straight, DRS activates again, just trundling through, getting to tyre warmth. Clearly his lap was invalidated. Into this corner again, you've got to get this one right, or the next one bites you. Then you've got to get the power down, coming through here, down the straight again, personally, I would have thought this should be another DRS zone, but then I don't create the track, so coming
with the weather right now, I think if you want to get some practice, I would go with the intermediates right now, just to get a pretty good feel of the track layout.
Exactly. I'm 100% with you there. If it does rain in the race, you want to be there. You want to be able to know what your potential is. So you do want to be on the intermediates, have a quick run around and see what you do. And there's still people out there doing laps. Daniel Vale, like Mackenzie. In fact, Mackenzie's just gone through.
He just went right through it.
He's just gone through one of the signs there. So big mistake there by the GP2 champion. But and Guy, I think Guy has just.
Hello?
I don't think he's crashed out. I think he's just elected to sit the session out because, as you can see now, as we look at Daniel Vale, who's actually inadvertently come out and completely blown my theory out the window, there is a sheen on the track. So this track is now getting legitimately wet, and there is guys parked Red Bull off to the side of the road. So he has elected to just give it up because the weather is getting worse, and I can't see. I'm honestly mystified that there are people here still trying to get a lap in on the dry tyres.
And then someone almost just crashed. Look, Alex almost hit the wall just a few minutes ago.
In fact, Axel was slowing down. He's letting people through, but this could be. He's probably come out in front of the worst person to do that, John Lindbergh. He'll be looking to try and rectify. In fact, one of the McLarens has just had a massive spin in that area, and that's Melvin Barker. So, and there we go, DRS disabled. So it is now a wet qualifying. So, unfortunately, this is.
Oh, we're going right through.
Oh, have we got you back, Cameron?
Yes.
All right, finally. So, what have you made of this qualifying so far? It looks like the people who have gone out on the first run, such as Daniel Vale, it looks like Daniel's bagged another pole.
Yeah, well, it's pretty much confirmed that he's going to, unless it dries up, which I don't even think it can in 5 minutes. So.
I think I wouldn't be too surprised if we see everyone just start to retire now, because it's just pointless to. I mean, like Omar said, you could go out and do a few runs on the intermediates just to get a feel of the car, just in case it does rain through the race. But ideally, with only 5 minutes to go, a lot of people, you wouldn't really go for it. And that's why the likes of Guy March now, Joshua Law, and James Retief have all packed it in. So,
well, I don't think they would retire if it was raining in the race. If it was raining in the race, I reckon they go on intermediates and get some practice before it ends. But
well, exactly. I mean, considering everyone's done their thing. So we're just having a look through the field of those who are not in place very much. So you've got Eddie Bettenbauer, who's done a really good job to be position 6 and out-qualify his teammate Matthias Facelli. Mackenzie Stewart probably wouldn't be too happy with position 4, but John Lindbergh would be very disappointed to be sitting just on the fourth row of the grid with 1 minute 30.8, considering he's the guy that everyone wants to beat in time trial. Mason Ward will be a little disappointed that he's not quite up there with his teammate, almost a second and a half behind his teammate in pace. And of course, Nadir Ziyad on his home Grand Prix will start on position 12. In fact, Mastrosandi too, I'm quite surprised about being so far down the order as well, because he's been quite a avid qualifier in these last few rounds. So
I wonder if, obviously Table Clan did his first, but I wonder if the people who are at the bottom are the people who did it after them, because obviously it started raining during some people's laps. So that might be why some people who wouldn't expect to be low aren't low. Yeah,
I think Daniel was one of the first person out was Axel Eriksson. He did a 1:30.3. So of the benchmark drivers, he's done pretty well to be position 5, because usually the first banker lap is not too right. Now, here's an interesting thing. So John Lindbergh and Nadir Ziyad, well, actually John at the moment is on track. John has gone out on the intermediates just to get a run in, just to have a feel for the car. which could prove to pay dividends for him if it does rain in the race. And we know that he's a rain expert. We saw that in China when he challenged Mackenzie Stewart for the race win in those interchanging conditions. But of course the strategy didn't play into his favour, and it would end up being a battle between the two GP2 rivals in Alex Little and Mackenzie Stewart. And in the championship land right now, if the qualifying positions were to stay as they are, Bradley Betts would definitely take control of the championship lead again, and Alex would most likely drop behind Mackenzie Stewart in the third. And this is what happens when you miss races. So when you're at the top of your game fighting for a championship, so even as early as in the piece, missing a race can still kill your chances.
I mean, obviously he's going to get 0 points, and if Brad can get a win, he's going to get 25, and it's a huge gap for like now. And if Brad stays consistent, he can like keep that gap just big enough to like retain or keep Alex down. So I don't think.
And it is only 4 points, so it's only 4 points between the two. So if Brad was to win the race, it would be a 22-point swing in the other direction. So Alex would trail Brad by 22 points heading into Spain, and that's quite tricky. I mean, if anything, this season's actual F1 has kind of proven that you can fall behind by 30 points, but then claw your way back through, as Lewis Hamilton demonstrated on Sebastian Vettel. And that was also in the accounts on Sebastian Vettel getting a DNF at one point as well. So anything's a possibility in these kind of categories, and online is especially no stranger to these systems. So only 3 drivers. Actually, Daniel Vale's come out as well on the wet, so he must be feeling a little. I personally would think that there must be rain in the race, because otherwise I wouldn't be doing this.
I mean, I wouldn't either. I mean, there's not really much point. Unless
they're just filling in the time just to have a draw, you know,
give a show.
Just give a show. And Daniel is definitely giving a show. His rear end is wagging all over the show in these wet conditions. But yeah, I think personally, oh, he's gone. He's right out in the infield and he's burning him up. But yeah, but as I say, because it's a wet qualifying, well, he'll definitely earn 360 of the year award with that one. But yeah, now that it's a wet qualifying, it means that every driver has a free selection of tyres to use at the start of the race. So this is going to open up strategy. So, you know, everyone's definitely going to do the one stop. That's probably the most obvious thing that's going to happen. I can't imagine a two-stop happening when you've got a free selection of tyres. So they call time on qualifying for this. Daniel Vale actually managed to get ahead of the clock before anything happened. So John was already past the control line when that happened. So we'll see. And I just noticed that Eddie Bettenbauer's actually come back out on the ultra soft tyre. So he's just.
He's been on these for 2 laps, so maybe he's just messing about, I'm not sure.
He's just putting on a show for the people, and
wants screen time.
Yeah, he's up in P6, so he's definitely earned the mantle for probably the most unexpected high qualifier. So he's definitely exceeded expectations, and I'm sure guys at Toro Rosso Honda and Honda in general will be very impressed with that, especially considering he's out-qualified both, not only his teammate, but both Red Bulls as well. So advantage Eddie over the rest of the Red Bull family, and of course Guy Tasker just narrowly behind his teammate in the space of just under 0.8 of a second. So not bad for someone who's been out of practice for a little while with the work commitment. So that'll end John's time with a 142.7. And we'll just see if Daniel can beat that, and he does a 141.5. Jesus. And they say they don't go guns a-blazing through qualifying even when it's not the matter of points. So anyway, this has been qualifying so far, and we'll just run you through our grid order for the weekend once everyone's readied up. I see they've gotten rid of the EXP thing for spectators. That's a bit disappointing. But either way, Daniel Vale takes his 3rd consecutive pole position from Bradley Betts. And then it's George Vanderbrug, career best qualifying for him, ahead of Mackenzie Stewart. Axel Eriksson, Eddie Bedenbaugh, John Lindberg, Matthias Ficelli, Guy Tasker, Mason Ward, Melvin Stabaka, Nadir Ziyech, Mark Strasandi, Joshua Law, James Retief, and Ashley Reynolds makes up an all Force India back row. So who do you think is going to win the race? Stay tuned to find out. Whew.